Yes,
Thank you,
Ms.
Chair.
Seegers-Ncube.
Ms. Ramsamy, we were still...
Oh, I'm very sorry. Let me remind Commissioner Valoy, she wanted to ask a question.
Mr. Ramsamy, you were speaking in paragraph 20 about, you made reference to a meeting of the minister and Ms. Johnson. And what I wanted to ask you is, Ms. Johnson has testified to 2 meetings with the minister. You speak of 2 meetings. And in her, according to her, there was a first meeting, which was a meet and greet. It didn't last long. Minister wanted to know about IDEC, how it works. And then the second meeting, it was her and I think it's General Libya. And it was about a matter. And she didn't stay long in that meeting. She said, I don't report to you, Minister. I report to a different minister. I don't deal with these matters. I'm leaving. And General Libya said, I'll deal with it. And she left, and she doesn't know what happened there. Do you know anything about those 2 meetings?
No.
You never heard about them?
No, I didn't know any of those.
She never reported she had a meet and greet with the minister?
No, there was... The impression I got from when she was explaining the meeting on the 20th to 21st was that it was not the first meeting of this nature. But those 2 meetings, I cannot confirm nor deny. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So you know of at least 3 meetings because you say during the discussion of the 22nd, she told you about the meeting of the 21st. And it was not the first meeting. So it was possibly a second.
Second, third, fourth.
Let's stick to second because we don't know how many. And then the other one you are aware of is the one of the 23rd.
Correct.
So at least 3 meetings.
Confirm.
Thank you.
Sorry, Ms. Seegers-Ncube. Besides the statement file and the handwritten notes, I have file 7, file 10, Mr. Rapesu's statement file. It's quite a clutter in front of...
You can put Mr. Rapesu's file away.
Only that one?
Yes, they're dealing with the file notes and then file 10, 11, and the statement file.
Thank you.
In file 11, page 6, just before you deal with, you've already dealt with the events of the 23rd, but we haven't completed your file notes insofar as the 22nd is concerned. And if you go to 5 was the page where you made a note about the National Commissioner and let him lie. And then on 6, there is a February 2018. Can you just take us so that you don't deal with it in your statement? So if you can just tell us what it is that you were recording here, what your notes say.
PKTT was formed in Feb 2018, and that there was a link to Ian Cameron, DA. And this was in relation to what Advocate Johnson was stating.
Okay.
And it stems from not the IGI notes, but it stems from the Action SA lady, as she was called in the meeting.
Okay. And then in the block on page 6, you have Sabia. What were you recording here?
It must be noted that this is General Sabia. And we were told to speak to, in the 3rd block, there's a name of a person, or the 3rd name is an investigator in IDAC. The reason I asked that it be redacted is because he has one specific matter. And if I say that name, the other name, the second name that follows would be. So we were to discuss with that investigating officer the second name and the link to General Sabia.
without mentioning the name, the second name, is it someone in the SEPs? Is it someone outside?
It's a member of, or former member of high-ranking crime intelligence.
So you were supposed to establish a link
Between that person
member
and
and General Sibia.
Correct.
Okay.
But did Advocate Johnson say why you had to do this? This doesn't seem to come from any of Mr. Adams' complaints, which gave rise to Project Diversion.
No, Advocate. Like I said, and I think I'm saying it now for the third or fourth time, this is one of the main reasons for my unease. I didn't know where this information that Advocate Johnson was relaying to us is coming from. And I didn't understand how it was linked to the 27 referral. And my greater concern was who was giving Advocate Johnson this information to direct the investigation in this manner.
Well, did you have a suspicion as to who it was?
I did. Because of the meeting that evening, I suspected that this was, and because Advocate Johnson said that Minister Mkhunu wanted to clean up SAPS and crime intelligence, I assumed that there were conversations happening with regards to the greater scheme of things.
So you suspected Advocate Johnson was getting this information from Minister Mkhunu?
That, as well as the fact that her husband worked in crime intelligence.
Okay. Now, insofar as General Sibia is concerned, you have reference there to through 28 and National Commissioner. What was to happen there?
28 was supposed to be sent to the National Commissioner for the personnel file of General Sibia.
Okay, for General Sibia's personnel file. Okay.
From this, it sounds like General Sibia, in this case, was the subject of interest if you are looking for his personnel file.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And was this ever actioned?
Not to my knowledge. I did not receive any information.
Okay, then on the next page of file 11, page 7, you don't deal with this meeting in your statement, so I just want us to deal with it. It says Teams meeting, Dylan, MRDR, so I'm assuming it's Mr. Perumal, Mr. Rapesu, and yourself.
Correct.
Having a meeting on the 22nd, same day. Was this after the presentation meeting or before?
Correct. It was called, as per Mr. Perumal, a caucus meeting where he was indicating the things that needed to be done.
Following from the presentation?
From the instructions of Advocate Johnson after the presentation.
Okay. The first one there, can you just tell us what that is? It relates to the vetting? It's a section 28. I can't see who it will be served on.
It will be served on Miriam, who's a witness, upon consultation regarding her affidavit. If I remember correctly, the witness had concerns about deposing to an affidavit without informing NASCOM and the legal department of SAPS. And so that 28 needed to be served on her so that she could show them that she's compelled to disclose, as well as provide documents within her control.
Okay, and
In
Her control.
And this was what? Vetting?
It would have been the vetting department of crime intelligence, yes.
Okay.
And then you have another entry regarding a section 28, which is a personnel file. Can you just tell us there, because it refers to BMW clerk?
I did mention in my earlier testimony or on the previous occasion that at that point I didn't even know that Brigadier Mokwele was the BMW lady. And in the meeting, she's referred to as the BMW clerk. Where I say to discuss with, it's probably I had to discuss it with the ID. And then the next line is Dylan would action the following. To serve a 28 on the NASCOM for the personnel file and for the BMW clerk lady and for the personnel file from BMW and documents relating to the clerk, who I later became aware was the brigadier. And the next one was the 28 records.
And that she's an engineer, not a clerk, you later learn.
Correct, that she's an engineer.
With an MBA.
We were not informed of this by the investigating officers.
So to set the record straight.
Yes.
The next one.
The Section 28 medical records of Lushaba, General Lushaba. This was a fight. This was a very big fight, and this started a lot of problems in the team. I think during consultation with the evidence leaders, I even asked them, do you know what a J88 is? And they laughed at me. But in this meeting, when I was saying because they wanted to 28 the hospital for the entire medical file, you cannot do that. How am I going to lead the evidence? Should I ever lead the evidence? Because does this man waiver his rights to confidentiality? And I said to them, the legal process, if you want a medical record, is you take a J88 to the doctor, especially for that specific medical consultation. And they will fill it in, and it becomes a 212, which then becomes easier to prove in court. And with Mr. Padiachi, I got the blankest stare. It was as if it just went over. And with Mr. Perumal, he was like, oh, yeah, we'll do that. But they never did that. They actually did 28. They actually, the full medical file.
Mr. General Lushaba's full
Medical file from the emergency for the medical treatment after the incident.
And then you did speak about the next one, which was the tracker and the Inatus information.
Correct.
And that would have been on General Lushaba's vehicle.
Correct.
And what is it that they were trying to get from that?
I know that there was an argument between Mr. Perumal and Mr. Rapesu about this because Mr. Rapesu was trying to explain that we are not investigating the events that occurred when the housebreaking happened, whether he picked up a lady of the night or he was wrong. The investigation was based on what transpired after the case opened at the station level. So there was an argument about this, and I'm not sure if it was done. It has never been provided to me.
And then the funds of the task team, there's just an arrow there. It doesn't have a 28 next to it.
No. With regards to this, Advocate Johnson had previously said that when it comes to the task team, the political killings task team, that the investigation must look at, or it must be an investigation to obtain a racketeering certificate and prosecute in terms of poker. So that little block was determining, so Mr. Perumal wanted to lump sum everything. The vetting, the irregular appointments, into one solid, I don't even know what to call it. It's not a solid thing. It's just one file. And charge everybody in one go on racketeering. And so that was a discussion that was actually eventually settled by Advocate Johnson saying, no, it's not going to happen that way.
And you have there in the block corruption, racketeering task team. What is that referring to?
The same. It's the same thing with regards to the funds of the task team, resources, isolation, and then the manner in which Mr. Perumal wanted to proceed.
Okay, then we can go to the next page, which is page 8. That's where I think you deal with that meeting on page 11, paragraph 21 of your statement, which is the 23 January 2025 meeting, where Mr. Perumal is reporting back about the meeting with General Khan.
Correct.
Okay, but on your notes, that is in a block, a separate block at the bottom of page 8, file 11, there is other entries there that may be of relevance. I see that General Masimola's name is mentioned there again. It says Masimola equals SSA removed. What is that about? Do you recall?
Where are we?
On page 8.
At the bottom.
No, at the bottom deals with General Khan. At the top, where it has Dylan and Brian.
Okay. I
Then
see.
there's
Third
meeting.
line, fourth line.
Yes.
One of the issues that I raised was that, so when Dylan, Mr. Perumal was explaining the meeting with Feroz Khan, the issue of the vetting being sent to SSA had come up. And Mr. Perumal indicated that there must be an investigation with regards to this whole thing, and that the vetting should have been removed from SSA. It should never have gone because crime intelligence has their own vetting. However, in my attached to the memo on the 27th of July, there is a clear explanation about the SSA vetting thing that basically makes this whole argument null and void.
You mean the 7th of July?
7th of July,
Okay.
yes,
Yes.
2025.
And then the block where it has Feroz, Khumalo, you've explained that in your statement at paragraph 21.
Yes.
Okay. You can continue with your statement at paragraph 22.
Thank you. Mr. Perumal stated that Khan becomes very important to the project diversion investigations. He also said that he would be meeting Els
Continue.
and Shlongwane that day. These were identified by General Khan as possible witnesses. After the meeting with Advocate Johnson on the 30th of January 2025 regarding the Mr. Nkabinde matter, no further meetings were held until April 2025. Or if meetings were held, I was not included.
Okay, can I then ask you to go to page 12 of file 11, which deals with the still aspects of the meeting of the 23rd of January 2025, I think you meant. That 2301, 2026, you wrote just to identify the thing because it was
pages.
out of order, but it should be 2025.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, there you've got Khan becomes important. And then there is section 2828 again, serve Masimola, Tom Moyane, and NASCOM, D-class. What is that?
Declassify.
So you want, the request was for the National Commissioner to declassify.
What had happened was when Advocate Johnson instructed that the 28 must be served on Feroz Khan. So that because those documents were in his possession based on his position. During the consultation that took place between Mr. Padiachi, Mr. Perumal, and Mr. Khan, Mr. Khan said that they have to be served on the NASCOM, being General Masiamula, so that because they are classified. And so they had the only person in SAPS that can declassify the personnel files is the NASCOM.
Okay. Then back to your statement, page 11, the new topic, mounting pressure to progress investigations and effect arrests.
Before you deal with the new topic, at this point, and I'm looking up to paragraph 22, surely at this point you must have a sense about the role of General Khan here. Can you just speak to that? I mean, it's difficult to comprehend a situation where you are all having these discussions in these meetings and tasks are given and his name keeps coming up. You also know who he is, that you now know he's in crime intelligence. He works with Advocate Johnson, Johnson's husband. So there are certain facts you know. You must have formed a view at this point about his...
I did.
Yeah, can you just share that with us?
So what I did was I Googled, because there was a lot of talk about him being on sick leave or suspension, but I wasn't following it. So I had Googled and I realized that there was a lot of problems between himself and management of SAPS. My opinion that I formed was that if I'm allowed to just deviate a little bit. In 2023, I had been given a docket where the former head of crime intelligence, Lieutenant General Jacobs, is supposed to have been accused number one. And when I was one statement short from being able to enroll the matter against 3 suspects in the matter.
You are in IDEC at that time?
I'm in IDEC at the time. That is one of the 3 matters that I indicated in statement 1 where Advocate Johnson point blank refused to let me proceed. In fact, she held a meeting saying that those dockets were going to be sent to SECU, but they had come through the Zondo Commission. And it was around that time that I was putting the link of Advocate Johnson's husband, crime intelligence, and this matter, because people talk. And I was also asking the investigating officer, why are we being blocked? And then I had heard about Advocate Johnson's husband and Mr. Khan being friends. Then all of this happened. So I put 4 and 4 together, and I realized that there were other aspects at play, which made me even more cautious with my note-taking, my written objections, notifying management of how procedures are not being followed. And the mere fact that the Feroz Khan affidavit in the Lushaba matter was kept from me. There's an email to that effect where I'm saying I'm not even made aware of it. I've now had 2 court appearances. I have replied to requests for further particulars. So when I disclose this, it's going to look like I'm hiding information from the defense. So I also vocalized my concerns about General Khan's involvement. It also became very clear his agenda when I started reading his affidavits. And I put so in 2 memos, that he's only speaking about his own issues. So I do believe that he had influence on these matters and how they progressed.
The investigations and the decisions to prosecute.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to the statement. You were dealing with paragraph 23.
It seemed that out of nowhere, Advocate Johnson started putting immense pressure on the team to start effecting arrests on Project Diversion. Advocate Johnson wanted matters enrolled as a matter of urgency. On the 9th of April 2025, Mr. Perumal informed me that Advocate Johnson wanted to advise us that the meeting with Ian Cameron went very well and that we have his full support and that we got his affidavit. Mr. Perumal forwarded messages from Advocate Johnson where it is clear that she was eager for the arrest to be effected as soon as possible, or as she put it, let us strike while it is hot.
We do have the screenshot of that. It's not yet in the bundle. It's part of the documents, but we do have that's supposed to be added and compiled. So we're going to flight that now, but it will be added to file 10 at some point when we do the other documents. Are you able to see it and read it?
Yeah. Okay, ID. Just wanted to advise, meeting with Ian Cameron went well. Full support from him. We got his affidavit. We also got...
No, I think you must start from the beginning. This is an email this is a WhatsApp from Mr. Perumal.
Correct. This is a WhatsApp from Mr. Perumal. He forwarded it to me after he had sent it to Advocate Johnson.
Yes, okay.
He was reporting to
Advocate Johnson.
Okay.
We also got General Pinar to come in. Once she saw the evidence she is withdrawing her reports, wherein she cleared Lushaba. I will sign off on her affidavit on Friday. She admits that she was misled by the IO and Lushaba's friends, etc. We're back at airport, flying back to PTA at 6 p.m.
And so that is his message that he sent to Advocate Johnson, and he's now sending it to you to show that's what he sent her.
Correct.
And then he forwards, so he's basically forwarding the conversation that he's having with Advocate Johnson to you.
Correct.
And where we then see the white messages like that, the long message, where it doesn't have a forward, it's because it's his message to her. So when you send it to somebody else, it's not going to show as a forwarded message. But her message to him will come across as a forwarded message.
Correct.
So where we see forwarded, that is from Advocate Johnson to Mr. Perumal. And where we don't see forward, it's his message to her.
Correct.
Okay?
Okay, thank you. Stay on Pinat. I think you meant Pinar. So that we enroll Lushaba ASAP.
And his response?
No problem, ID.
And
her reply. Let us strike while it's hot.
And that was in reference to enrolling the matters in order to get warrants of arrest.
Correct.
Okay. And what is the process of the enrollment? What would have had to happen in order to get the matters enrolled?
Firstly, we would have had to have a 28-1. And then the prosecutors would have had to evaluate the evidence. From there, one of two things would have happened. If the prosecutor felt that there was a prima facie case, the matter would have been enrolled. If not, then a memo, which I will later display how I had done on the crime intelligence matters to Advocate Johnson, is done to say no prima facie case.
When it gets enrolled for the purposes of getting a warrant, is it dealt with in the magistrate's chambers? You don't go into open court for that purpose.
For a warrant of arrest,
Yeah.
the prosecutor is not even supposed to be there.
So who are the role players?
It would be the magistrate and the investigating officer with the investigating officer's affidavit, and there's a pro forma. It's a J, I can't remember, but it's a J something. At the top, it would say, Drushantha Ramsamy, confirm that I have perused the docket and I confirm that there's a prima facie case. I would then sign it and at the bottom date it, and then there's another portion where the investigating officer will fill out.
And then you're asking the magistrate to authorize the warrant.
But the magistrate is not bound by me saying that there's a prima facie case, because remember, I'm not telling the magistrate what is in the charge sheet or the docket or anything like that. The magistrate is bound in their own duties and responsibilities to read and question the affidavit of the investigating officer. Based on that, then the magistrate would sign the J50.
Sorry, that message is gone. The WhatsApp.
Oh, the WhatsApp. Okay.
You now
we'll
have the
take-
statement.
Okay, yes.
Commissioner Khumalo says it's a view once. They say.
We can retrieve it.
Please do. Yeah. This affidavit. So Perumal, Chief Perumal says we got his affidavit. In terms of dates, when this message is exchanged, does that connect to the affidavit that we looked at earlier? Or is he speaking about a different affidavit? Do you know?
If memory serves, it is the same date.
Okay.
Yeah. If I can just remember which.
If you go to 2820 in file 7,
28.
it's dated the 9th of April 2025. And
Does-
your exchange with him is on that day.
Correct.
And it's at 1:30, and that is by Brian Padiachi.
Correct.
Okay. So it's that same affidavit.
It would appear so, yes, Commissioner.
And before Mr. Perumal went to meet with Mr. Ian Cameron, was this discussed as part of your work that you're doing, that we will go and speak to Member of Parliament, Ian Cameron? He has approached us, or we know somehow that we'll get something out of him. How does Perumal land up talking to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee?
Commissioner, after the 30th of January, until April, I'm completely kept out of the loop. And it's after this message where I'm now being told that we must strike while it's hot, that I'm doing, there is another presentation where I say, I've only received documents on the 11th of April. I haven't received any of the information that was received through the 28th. So I cannot enroll according to the timeline.
If you are kept out of the loop, you say from January until about April, how do you explain that Mr. Perumal sends you this? Because this suggests, on the face of it, this message suggests you know what he's talking about because you've been part of it. How do you explain it then?
I actually had a conversation about this. When I spoke to Mr. Sissoko about this, I said to him, now they want me in because they need a prosecutor. So now they want to bring me into the fold, and the word I used was play nice because they needed a prosecutor.
It's because they wanted to enroll the matters.
Correct.
Okay. And they could only do that with a prosecutor.
With a prosecutor.
Okay.
And do you know whether General Pina did withdraw her report that cleared General Lushaba? Do you know what happened with that?
That was an even bigger fight. How, even if she is shown evidence, it's like the commissioners make their findings and submit a report. You can't now say that you're going to withdraw your April report because of the information that we've received now that contradicts there. You would do a supplementary or a new report saying, based on my new findings, this is what I have discovered or has been placed before me. And due to that, I wish to amend my initial report. And at that point, I actually got Mr. Sissoko in because, and I said to him, you need to deal with Mr. Perumal now because he's not listening. And at that point, I was saying to them, if you withdraw it, okay, if you put it in the docket already, And then now you file a withdrawal of that. And then you go to the commissioner of NASCOM and you say, I'm withdrawing that report. You cannot do that. You have to supplement your report and say that based on new findings, I make new recommendations. So I doubt that the report was withdrawn. I also doubt that the legal department of SAPS would have allowed it in that manner.
But you're not aware whether or not it was withdrawn. Thank you.
Can I just get clarity on this? So this relates to the Lushaba matter.
Correct.
But when did the split happen where Mr. Rapesu was assigned the Lushaba matter and the other team was assigned the Mukwele matter?
Around the 16th to the 20th of January 2025, there was a separation of the team members.
So you weren't being kept abreast about the Mukwele matter?
Correct.
But you were being kept abreast about the Lushaba matter by Mr. Rapesu?
Until the 30th of January, correct. Well, actually, no, just a little bit before. He didn't know anything about it until the 10th of February when he received the letter. And then on the 10th of February, he ceased work.
Yes. So I think that is what's missing in our timeline is that when he gets suspended, who then takes over the Lushaba case?
Mr. Perumal and Mr. Padiachi. And after that, it went from an investigation of what transpired at station level. And all of a sudden, I really didn't understand, and until now I don't understand, why Crime Intelligence Vetting Department was constantly filing affidavits. Because even in the Lushaba matter, there's 3 affidavits, one of whom is the 204.
So when you say that you weren't being kept abreast, that would have been from February when Mr. Rapesu was no longer on the Lushaba matter?
Correct.
But you were aware that the Lushaba matter is now being investigated by Mr. Perumal and his team?
Correct.
And you're not aware then what's happening on that investigation?
Correct.
Okay. Are you asking for updates or how does the process work?
I'm supposed to be updated on every single witness that's consulted, every step of the investigation. Where there's problems with witness statements, I'm supposed to get the drafts, I'm supposed to proofread, I'm supposed to analyze. When it's a 204, I'm supposed to peruse a draft before we can take it to Advocate Johnson to authorize a 204. None of those things were happening.
Yes, I think we get to the point at some stage where you say the 204 process where you were bypassed and Advocate Johnson sort of said to you she's happy with the process, the 204 can go ahead. But at this stage when he sends you this message, do you then, because you're not responding to him immediately, but at some point you must be engaging him now on what's happened, and you have a meeting. How do you get updates now? Because now you know that there's been progress on the Lushaba matter. What happens from there? And Mr. Cameron's affidavit, does that relate to the Lushaba matter as well?
No.
Okay. So why were you being told about his affidavit?
I think the purpose of, and this will also be addressed when I speak of the meeting of the 8th of July, 2025. Advocate Johnson would send certain instructions to me through Mr. Perumal. So my understanding of this message was that Mr. Perumal wanted me to know that Advocate Johnson wanted us to get going on the Lushaba matter. And then there was a meeting subsequent to that on the 11th of April. I think it's the 11th.
And before he was taken off the Lushaba matter, what was Mr. Rapesu's view of the matter?
So Mr. Rapesu interviewed 2 crime intelligence officers that had been tasked to go and if I have to use the term that they used, go clean up a mess. Okay. And then when he received the docket, he looked at the C clip and the A1. So in my first evidence, I spoke about how the first entry of the C clip would speak to the A1 with regards to suspects, dates. The whole thing is literally summarized for when the detective takes over. And then the B clip, when you look at the middle section, if you lift all the correspondence that's usually there, there's a little block that says when a docket was allocated to an investigating officer, meaning a detective, and when they sign for it. So it's sort of a check and balance because it'll be on the casing system and then it'll also be on the docket. Mr. Rapeso then, and he updated me via WhatsApp throughout the day of every move. And so he then consulted, he found out that accused number 2, Makhashwa, was not even on duty, and that he was told by the crime intelligence officers who were tasked from crime intelligence at the time, at 2022, to go and speak to the A1 and A2, meaning the first SAPS officials to respond to the complaints. When he consulted with them, he wanted the original 38 docket to take to them.
That's Valeria.
Valeria 38 docket. Mr. Perumal refused to allow Mr. Rapeso to have the docket, even though he was the investigating officer on the matter. Hence the message from Advocate Johnson that she had handed everything over to Dylan, Chief and Padiachi, O'Brien. So I told him to work off the copies that I had made for him and the whole team of those dockets. And in those copies was Valeria 38. When he consulted with the they work in crews. So the van went to the house of Drushantha, and the person, the more senior, who took down the affidavit of what had transpired while Mr. Lushaba was dictating, etc., etc. He said that this was not the statement, and then he filed a statement saying that this could not be the A1 because it's one, not in his handwriting, and two, he had commissioned it, and it had been commissioned at the physical address of Mr. Lushaba. So that affidavit was sent to me via WhatsApp. I sent it to Advocate Johnson. Then the following day, Mr. Rapeso met with another crime intelligence officer who was also tasked with in 2022. And then he also met with the crew member of the, what I call the A1, because he was the first person to file an affidavit with regards to what transpired after Valeria Case 38 was opened. He filed an affidavit in confirmation of what had transpired in where Mr. Lushaba goes to the police station. He's told to wait at his residence. A van will come, a SAPS van. The SAPS van attends the statement, and the docket is opened at the house. Accused number 2, Makhashwa, is not even there. But the statement in the Valeria Case 38, as it stands now, is an affidavit commissioned by the detective Makhashwa. So the investigations progressed. Mr. Rapeso went to speak to the station commander. The station commander also had his own concerns about this docket. And he voiced them with regards to the amount of pressure that he was receiving from accused number 4, 3 and 4 to close this docket. In fact, he says, accused number 3 and 4 said to me, "Don't you want to make your life easy and just close this docket as undetected?" The commander also speaks about, he did his own investigations with regards to cell phone records and all of those things. he confirms that he has the video, or he viewed the video footage referred to in Mr. Lushaba and the friend's affidavit. But that video footage is gone. It's nowhere. What is labeled as video footage and put in the SAP 13 and an SAP or exhibit bag is actually cell phone records that were obtained by the commander. So that USB of the video footage is gone.
And this is everything that Mr. Rapesu did before he gets taken off the matter.
Correct.
And he reported that to you.
He reported, he filed, there were affidavits filed with regards to those things. The commander also referred Mr. Rapesu to the initial person that was allocated to the docket on the CAS system, and explained to Mr. Rapesu, who then explained to me that, and later when I consulted with this station commander, was that it seemed like it was allocated to her because she had just come back from maternity leave and she was brand new. She also files a statement about how she was receiving phone calls from Mr. Lushaba, dictating certain things, that Mr. Lushaba didn't want to deal with her. He didn't want to file a supplementary. He wasn't making the witness on the housebreaking available. The commander also confirms to me that during consultation that on the day that Mr. Lushaba eventually filed a supplementary, he refused to do it in isolation from the witness. So he wanted the commander to do both statements together, and he was interjecting, and there was a lot of... But the friend... So Mr. Lushaba says that he did not go for any medical treatment, etc. The friend's statement says that he drove Mr. Lushaba for blood tests because Mr. Lushaba suspected that he was drugged. And I repeat, the charges on Mr. Lushaba's docket and the three other accused was not that he was not a victim. It was what had happened at the level of the station in order to quickly close that docket. And the statements speak to that right until Mr. Rapesu stopped. Also, it must be noted that 2 out of the 4 accused, when I was still dealing with the matter, approached me for 105A. We were in negotiations when I was removed from the matter.
What is 105As?
It is a plea and sentence agreement between accused and the state.
Okay, so why did Advocate Sarunya, he had a different assessment of the matter? Did he not have access to the investigations that Mr. Rapesu had done?
I was not allowed to. Mr. Rapesu was persona non grata. In fact, if you mentioned his name, Mr. Padiachi would stand up and say, "Don't talk about him. That man put my life at risk," no matter where we were. So I wasn't allowed to share the report. In fact, there's emails where Mr. Padiachi and Mr. Perumal had informed the ID that Mr. Rapesu did nothing on that docket. It just came as and they denied that the documents that Mr. Rapesu was forced to hand over when he got the letter contained statements and the report. And to be very honest, the report was handed to every person via USB on every update.
I know that the report by Mr. Rapesu, I think it's titled preliminary report or something like that, but it's a report by Mr. Rapesu. That is also one of the documents that needs to be obtained and included in the bundle.
Correct.
But I think Mr. Rapesu didn't have it, but you do have it.
I do, yes, correct.
Because he had emailed it to you.
And I had emailed it to everyone, correct.
And when you say you've emailed it to everyone, it wouldn't have been Mr. Serunye because he wasn't a part of the team yet, or would it
No,
have been?
Mr. Serunye came in only in August. All of this was happening in March, April, May. So
Okay.
when he analyzed the docket, in fact, Mr. Serunye and I had a discussion about it, about not after the testimony, but at the time in August, where I admitted that I was rushing the charge sheet and I had not put accused 2 where I was supposed to put accused 2. I had put accused 1. But I was trying to explain to him what it was. But Mr. Surunye, or Advocate Surunye, concentrated on the explanation provided to him by Mr. Padiachi. And with the report of Mr. Rapesu, he was never provided so that he could understand the sequence of the investigation.
So the view that you and Mr. Rapesu held at the time was that there was a prima facie case.
Correct, and it was confirmed in the meeting where Mr. Sisoko was present.
And which meeting was that?
The one that Mr. Surunye spoke about yesterday, where he wanted the presentations.
We wanted the presentations. Okay, I think we'll get to that at some point. Now, after Mr. Rapesu is out of the picture on Mr. Lushaba, General Lushaba's matter, and is the main investigator now Mr. Padiachi, or is it Mr. Perumal? Who's the investigator?
Must I answer that?
Yes.
It's
I
too
know
late
you
not
have-
to be blunt, so I'm going to be blunt. Commissioners, Mr. Padiachi does not know investigation. He is, and even if you look at the emails that I'm providing to the commission, even his affidavits for the J50s, he's never drafted them. Those affidavits are drafted by Mr. Perumal and emailed by Mr. Perumal, and they're in 2 different provinces. And he would say, Brian, peruse, team peruse. So those, everything, and like I said, I know the style because I've been working with them for almost 4 years now. The other aspect is that I know that Mr. Padiachi was struggling with the investigation because on numerous occasions I had instructed Mr. Padiachi to do, so when we were discussing, if we go back to the aspect where we're saying 28s must be done on this and 28s must be done on that. On page 7.
Of file 11.
File 11. It reached a point where I had to remind Mr. Padiachi that you are also a senior investigator. You're not a chief investigator. You're on the same rank as Mr. Rapesu. So I'm dividing. You do this, you do this. When it was eventually done, it was done by Mr. Perumal. So even a 28, Mr. Padiachi struggled to do. And on one occasion, Mr. Padiachi had said to me, I'm still new to this, so I need you to guide me through this, whatever. But if you're asking me for guidance, then you must also be willing to learn. And you must be able, because he would sit and he would say, let me tell you how crime intelligence is working, how crime intelligence is working. Whenever I would ask why there was a shortage of evidence in an affidavit obtained, it would be, let me tell you. And I said, no, but you, irrespective of what you know, in order for me to make a decision on the evidence, it has to be in the statement. So,
You sound like you, I'm not saying that's your intention. You sound like you agree with General Mkwanezi that Colonel Padiachi knows nothing about investigations. Is that a fair
it's a fair assessment.
assessment?
Having worked with him since January 2025. Actually, I worked with him on the other 27 referral, but he came in much later after the investigation was done.
Thank you.
So yes.
Thank you.
Now, in your statement,
Maybe before you do that, let me ask a question. It relates to that WhatsApp message from Mr. Perumal about his meeting with Mr. Cameron. It's where it says, meeting went very well, full support from him. What did you understand that to mean? Because from the affidavit that we looked at earlier, it seemed, and your notes, looking at your earlier notes, that they went to see him about the appearance of the National Commissioner and his team on vetting issues. I think you said that's vetting crime intelligence. That's why they went there, and that affidavit seems to speak to that, even though it doesn't say they lied. It said, look at the record of our meeting, compare that with your intelligence dockets. Members were not satisfied. That's all he says. When he says, so it would appear that their engagement with him would have been limited to that particular question, the vetting crime intelligence. What did you understand, Mr. Perumal, to say when he says we have full support from Mr. Cameron? That you what you understood or what he said?
I understood him to have meant that they went to Mr. Cameron with a specific narrative in mind. And that narrative was accepted. And I say this because I had been working with them for so long. I have sat in 2 or 4 negotiations on other matters. So I know how they think, how they work. They went to him with a specific narrative and he was on board.
And the narrative would be what? Because in the bigger scheme, you have said to us the big scheme. Let me be careful not attribute to you things that you didn't say. So if I were a paraphrase, bear with me. That it seems the big scheme here was the cleaning up of the SAPs for whatever purpose, because that's what your head says. I met with the minister, he wants our assistance to clean up the SAPs. So maybe that's why everything is happening, I don't know. When you say they went there with a narrative, is it that he's giving full support for the cleaning up of the SAPs, or is it for arresting and charging crime intelligence people, including the National Commissioner? When you say narrative that you think they went there with, and that's what Perumal is speaking to when he says that Mr. Cameron gives his full support, what in fact do you have in mind, or are you seeking to convey to us? My understanding of the narrative by then was exactly what they were perpetuating, that General Khumalo and General Masiamula need to leave. They need to be gone. Understanding was that, and you may well have been wrong in your understanding,
Correct.
so you're not placing it higher than what you made of it.
Correct.
Your understanding was that Perumal is conveying that Cameron supports that agenda.
Correct.
He may well be misrepresenting what happened between him and Cameron, so we're not placing it higher than that.
Correct. And also, just to repeat, by then, Advocate Johnson had already said we must look into a link of PKTT and Cameron, in Cameron. Also, we have the WhatsApps where Mr. Perumal is sending me documents that were top secret, contain very, very dangerous information about a person and their lifestyle, their families, etc. For the purpose of security of Mr. Cameron. So how did we go from investigating how Mr. Cameron went to get, or how Mr. Cameron got protection, his risk assessment, and the PKTT involvement, to he's now on board?
Thank you.
I just got word that there's a need for a comfort break.
Yes,
Lesser
Chair.
Jane will be told when to come back.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes,
Thank you,
Mr.
Chair.
Ncube.
Ms. Ramsamy, just switch on your microphone. Thanks. We were dealing with paragraph. I had asked you some questions about the Lushaba investigation, but I think we were at paragraph 24 of your statement, but I could be wrong. On page 12.
Correct.
And you referred to numerous meetings that took place in April. There's just one aspect which came to mind as I was reading this now that I need to clarify about the evidence that the witness gave earlier. You said that the WhatsApp, which was given to us after all of this, was the WhatsApp that sort of spurred where they needed you now to come in because they wanted to do the enrollment. And prior to that, there hadn't really been much engagement with the team investigating on the Lushaba matter. But my recollection of when we had the consultations and your statement was being prepared is that it was actually the meeting that was held in April, the 8th of April, the request for a meeting with you on the 8th of April that made you say, why do now they want me because they need me. It wasn't the 9 April.
It was correct.
WhatsApp.
I have my phone in front of me on the 5th of April. Mr. Perumal contacted me and said they needed to see me and that they were going to be in Pretoria on the 8th. On the morning of the 8th, I will provide it to I will provide a screen grab to the commissioners. On the morning of the 8th, I say, "Morning D, trust you are well. Are we still meeting today? If so, what time?" He says, "Hi Drew, can we meet at Fire and Ice Mainland, please? Anytime you're ready." I said, "No problem, we'll be there by 11:30. At 10:12, I say, "I'm early, 24 minutes away." And then I call to find out, when I get there, I call to find out where do I meet them. And then they were in the conference room or boardroom by the eating area of Fire and Ice. The notes are on page 13.
Yes, I was just going to take the commissioners there. So just to clarify and clear up the confusion, it is the WhatsApp from the 5th of April, not the WhatsApp from the 9th of April, that is the interaction that you say was them now needing you. Because they want to enroll. And then the meeting follows on the 8th of April. On page 13, you've got D, B, and me, which is Perumal, Padiachi, and you at Fire and Ice.
Correct.
Okay. And there you've got the HB, which is the housebreaking matter.
Correct.
Okay.
This became a very important matter to enroll at that time.
Important to whom?
To Advocate Johnson and Mr. Perumal. So there was a meeting with regards to where I stand and what has been done by them. So they were briefing me on what they've done in the investigation.
Sorry to interject. I think you just need to give context, and maybe I need to do that now, is that by the 8th of April, your affidavit that we had looked at earlier had been submitted to Advocate Johnson.
Correct.
Which was dated 1 April 2025.
Correct.
Regarding Mr. Rapesu and what happened with Mr. Nkabinde.
Correct.
So by the time this interaction is happening, there's now tension because of your... Well, I'm saying tension, which is a mild interpretation of what you're going to explain. But that's the context within which this is happening, is that at this stage, you have filed an affidavit which essentially exonerates, from your point of view, Mr. Rapesu regarding the allegations about Mr. Nkabinde and whether or not he leaked the information to Mr. Nkabinde.
Correct.
Okay, now you may proceed.
Just to add on the tension was so intense that later on there's even a team coercion meeting. I was repeatedly told by both Advocate Johnson and Mr. Perumal that they don't trust me anymore because of that affidavit. And it's not as if they were just saying, "We don't trust you." Advocate Johnson actually said to me, "There's a lot of distrust by the team members against you because of your affidavit." So this meeting was, I really didn't want to be there. That's probably why I even forgot it happened. I apologize for that. There was no malice on my part. So they wanted to discuss the housebreaking matter. For some reason, they had, without me knowing, 28'd or subpoenaed the loss file. The loss file is an internal file that's kept for the reporting of equipment that is issued to you by your employer. If you lose it, then you have to fill in those documents or file an affidavit, give the CAS numbers, etc. They had subpoenaed the internal fact-finding file. That was basically the internal investigation into the loss of those items. Retake const file. I cannot remember what that means.
So can I just understand this note? This is now just a recordal of everything that you had just told us earlier on was contained in Mr. Rapesu's statement or his report, or?
It's, this is now them telling me what they did after Mr. Rapesu's start.
Oh, okay. So then I don't think we need to go over this. This was just for me to bring to your attention that your dates were wrong regarding the 9 April conversation, the 9 April WhatsApp exchanges. So we can then go back to your statement where you say there were numerous meetings, paragraph 24.
There were numerous meetings that took place in April. All of them mounting from tension between the team and myself, because Advocate Johnson had indicated that the team had great distrust towards me because of the affidavit I deposed, to essentially stating that Mr. Rapesu could not have been the source of the leak regarding the investigation into Mr. Nkabinde. This affidavit was deposed to sometime in the first week of April 2025. If I may just speak to this distrust. I had spoken to Mr. Sissoko, and I had asked him if Mr. Perumal and Mr. Padiachi were witnesses in this Rapesu investigation. How is it that they've had sight of my affidavit for them to now state that they distrust me based on my affidavit?
Okay.
Paragraph 25. On April 2025, a meeting was held.
24 April
2025. A meeting was held with the project diversion team. Present was Advocate Johnson, Mr. Perumal, Sissoko Padiachi, project manager Tsepo Shlale, Patam Lambo, senior investigator, Charles Els, investigator, Venan Vessels, the chief financial investigator. Mr. Sissoko and me. By this time, Mr. Rapesu was no longer on the project. At this meeting, a second written presentation was made to Advocate Johnson. I pointed out that I had received affidavits late, and none of the documents secured in terms of the Section 28 processes had been made available to me. Mr. Perumal attempted to deny knowledge of the Section 28 summonses that were issued in respect of General Lushaba's bank account. Those issued by Mr. Rapesu in December 2024. I was shocked and reminded him of the events surrounding the issuing of those summons. In fact, he was copied on Mr. Rapesu's Section What email, attaching the summonses. Tensions were high at that stage, so much so that I had to address the issues with Advocate Johnson and Mr. Sissoko, which I did in an email titled Prosecutorial Instructions Considered as Disrespectful and Nonsense. In this email of 25 April 2025, I also raised the issues that investigators were not complying with SOPs during the investigation. I will return to the 24 April 2025 meeting later under the relevant topics. I became aware.
Sorry, Ms. Ramsamy, can I just ask you to look again at that date? Because you may be confusing the 24 April meeting with a 16 April meeting, but That's my recollection, but I just want you to go to your notes on page 20, file 11, because it's got takedown. The title of that says takedown plus or minus 7 May.
What pages?
On page 20 of file 11. I know in some of these notes you didn't have the benefit of them because you
No,
had to retrieve
the
it.
plus minus 7 May.
Now look at the date of the meeting.
Oh, the 16th of April. Of
Yes.
ID office, Mlambo, yes, I'm sorry.
Yes. Because that's the meeting where the ID is present. You've got the people that have attended right after the date. You've got at ID's office, Mlambo, Brian, Dylan, Ayanda, Dylan again, Dylan again, ID, Sissoko, Charles, which all corresponds to the attendees on paragraph 25, but you say it's 24 April, and I think it's 16.
No, it is the 16th of April. I apologize.
Okay.
I did
There
say
is a 24 April meeting.
Yes.
But the meeting that you say is the significant meeting where the takedown, that is why there's a takedown plus minus 7 May.
Correct.
Okay. And tell us what is takedown a reference to?
Takedown is the word that Advocate Johnson and Mr. Perumal use with regards to arrests.
Okay. So the arrests, what were you being told about the takedown?
I was instructed that the takedown for Mr. Lushaba and the 3 others was to take place on the 7th of May, plus minus 7th of May.
That was the target date.
Correct.
And were you given any information as to the significance of that date?
No, I was not.
Okay. And then you have the reference memo ×2 and hard drive. What does that mean?
There was an issue of previously I had indicated on the 11th that I was only given the documents or the affidavits that they had collected since inception on the 11th of April. And there was an issue about storage on a USB because the USBs were small. So we had to requisition like 3 or 4 USBs in order for me to get the information. And so in order to obtain a hard drive, you have to do a memo to the ID so that the ID can approve the requisition. So I was to do a memo for 2 hard drives, one for myself and one for the investigators.
Okay. And then you refer to the Lushaba matter, the security security clearance, and then you D to call Pinar, section 28 interview. Then there's a cannot commit, and then section 28. What is that in reference to?
Mr. Perumal had indicated that Pinar indicated that she cannot commit to attending a consultation without a 28 service.
Okay. She needed the subpoena. Okay.
She had to be subpoenaed.
And then you have started drafting. Drafting what?
Advocate Johnson had indicated that I must start drafting. So I put started drafting.
Drafting what?
The prosecutorial memo. But I had in that meeting been told to start drafting. So the list that Advocate Johnson told me was the in consultation note, the charge sheet, and the prosecutorial memo.
Okay, and those were the documents necessary for the enrollment.
Correct.
Were you asked to draft a 28-1 application, because wouldn't that precede all of those other documents?
The 28-1 request for drafting was only made to me on the 27th of May, 2025.
Okay, so the request to draft the 28-1 investigation application for authorization for that investigation was only given to you on the 27th of May, that instruction. But on the 16th of April, you are already instructed to draft the in-consultation memo, and that is for purposes of enrollment, even though the 28-1, you're not yet in a 28-1.
Correct. It was at this time that I told Advocate Johnson that the quality of the statements are so poor that I highly doubt her timelines could even be met.
Yes, I think there is a WhatsApp where you say, you're asking for an extension.
Correct.
Okay. And we'll get to that. So then the next thing you say, signed Khumalo equals clearance not authorized. What does that mean?
If memory serves, it was with regards to the fact that when Khumalo was appointed, his clearance was not authorized.
Okay. And that is a different investigation under Project Diversion.
I was writing as everybody was speaking, so it's possible that was supposed to be, the line was supposed to be above it.
Okay, the line being now you're in phase 2, which is the unlawful appointments, which General Khumalo would fall under that, which is the vetting.
Correct.
And that would be General Khumalo and General Masemola, or is it General Khumalo and General Madondo?
Both.
Okay. And just remind us again, insofar as General Masemola and General Khumalo is concerned, the allegation there is related to General Khumalo's appointment as the head of the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence.
Correct.
And General Madondo and General Khumalo, what is the allegation there?
Is that General Khumalo facilitated the transfer or promotion of General Madondo to Crime Intelligence while well knowing that her security clearance or application for top security clearance was refused.
Okay, so when you have the reference to 7 May there for the takedown, is it Lushaba on the housebreaking?
Correct.
Okay, and then what would to happen to the other arrests?
The instruction was that there were going to be arrests every 2 weeks.
Arrests in respect of the other matters every 2 weeks?
In respect of the other matters. So the arrests would go, and each meeting it changed the order. So this meeting it was Lushaba, Mokwele, Madondo, Masemola Khumalo.
Okay. Then before you continue with your statement at paragraph 25 on page 12, can we go to file 11, page 21?
I'm on 21. Okay.
This is still a continuation of the meeting of 16 April. I just want you to tell the commissioners why General Masemola's name is mentioned in that note. And it says not allowed till ID is convinced.
I was informed in that meeting that General Masemola was served with a Section 28 to appear before a designated member of the ID to answer questions. In that meeting, the ID asked me, why is NASCOM being served? And I'm like, I literally did this. And I pointed to Perumal. And she wanted an explanation as to why it was to happen. And so she gave Mr. Perumal an instruction that he must phone NASCOM and tell NASCOM that the ID instructed that he is not to respond to that 28. And that a letter was to be drafted by Mr. Perumal to withdraw the 28 served on NASCOM. And she wanted Mr. Perumal to advise her as to why it was necessary to 28 and interview the NASCOM.
Yeah, this wasn't just 28 for him, for General Masemola to provide documentation. It was for him to appear before who was going to be the interviewer. So he was supposed to appear before that person under subpoena to answer questions related to what?
So I think that's why Advocate Johnson stopped it. Not because it wasn't, she wouldn't have wanted it to happen. She just didn't understand how it was going to happen. 28 interviews are to be conducted with a prosecutor present. I was the only prosecutor on the matter except for Advocate Johnson. Neither of us knew that the NASCOM was subpoenaed to come to be interviewed. So who was going to do the interview and for what purpose? Because at that point, I didn't even know what information they wanted to question NASCOM on.
And what was Mr. Perumal's reaction to Advocate Johnson saying that it must be placed on hold until she is convinced?
He was very angry. He was extremely angry. In fact, after the meeting, he stormed out of the meeting. When Advocate Johnson, so he threw his pen down twice during that meeting. Once when I said that the statements, 90% of the statements are futile because they're so poor. And then the second time was when Advocate Johnson said the 28 interview was not taking place. And after the meeting, he was spitting fire. And he was saying that ID doesn't know what happens with these things. The ID doesn't understand how these things work. I'm going to explain it to her. Once I explain it to her, she let it happen.
Okay, if we go to 22, there's that reference in your notes to that as well, where it says call NASCOM withdrawn interview. Is that in relation to the same issue?
Correct.
Okay. And was the National Commissioner advised that he shouldn't appear?
Correct. And a letter of withdrawal was sent, as well as the instruction of Advocate Johnson was to go and physically obtain the subpoena served. It was to be brought to her. She was to scratch over it as cancelled or withdrawn, and it must be taken back to NASCOM.
Now, who would have signed that subpoena?
I haven't seen the subpoena, but the only person that would have been able to sign such a subpoena is Advocate Johnson.
But she didn't know about it, as far as you were aware, because she said it must be withdrawn in that meeting. So did you believe her that she didn't know anything about it?
Is it a case of she did not know or she was not convinced that it's necessary?
I can't answer that specific question. I can only tell you that the only person that could have signed it was her. So unless she was signing documents for Mr. Perumal without reading it and without an explanation, she knew.
So if she says it must be withdrawn, it means she must have known that it exists.
Correct.
So it was it who brought the topic up about that 28?
It was Brian that said that the NASCOM will be here at 1:00.
Yes, so she didn't bring up the topic.
No.
Did you get the sense that she didn't know about the Section 28, or she knew about it, as Commissioner Khumalo is putting, that she knew about it, but she now wanted to put it on hold until she was convinced it needed to be done?
I'm trying to remember her reaction. So she was typing while we were talking, and then Brian said that, and she turned to me because I was sitting directly in front of her, and she asked me, "Why is NASCOM coming here?" And I said, "I don't know." So in my memory, it seemed like she was genuinely shocked. So I would go with the fact that she signed a document that she didn't read.
Well, we don't know that she signed it. And if I recall correctly, when there was another Section 28 summons that had been flighted at the Commission during Advocate Johnson's evidence where she hadn't signed it. It was signed by a DDPP. She indicated that they do have, or she does give that delegation. Are you aware of that? Like, have you seen any Section 28 signed by anyone other than Advocate Johnson?
Yes. If she was unavailable at Manco, Exco, on leave, sick leave, etc., she would, if it's for an extended period, we would get an email saying that the ID powers are allocated to a specific deputy director. And in that period, only that deputy director could exercise the powers of the ID. If she was away for just the day or she was in a meeting and she couldn't attend to it, generally, very recently, it was a situation where I was told by Mr. So we were trying to get to consult with the witness who's in witness protection. And those letters have to be signed by Advocate Johnson. And I had contacted Mr. Billichin to say that, I'm sorry, we can't get the document signed because the ID is not here. And he said, no. I was told that Mr. Malinol can sign.
Okay. Then can we skip a few pages in your notes and go back to your statement later? I'm interested in the entries after the line where you say collect 28 cancelled. Is that again a reference to General Masamola's cancelled 28?
Correct.
Okay. And then you've got Mokwili, and I'm assuming at that stage you didn't know. I'm assuming it was for Mokwele.
Correct. I reiterate, at that point I had no documents, so I didn't even know the spelling of the brigadier.
So as at 16 April, you didn't know about, you didn't have the name, even the correct spelling of Brigadier Mokwele's name.
Correct.
You say you had no documents. But the 20 May, I'm assuming, is a date that's targeted for arrests.
Correct.
And the Lushaba is 7 May.
Correct.
Yeah, was this said by Advocate Johnson? Sorry.
Yes, these instructions were given by Advocate Johnson. So here she reiterated that she added to the cancellation of the 28, which I just explained, where it had to go and get collected, brought to her, she would cancel it, and then it had to get given back to NASCOM. And then this is how the first two arrests and the dates, the projected dates. In fact, it was more of an instruction that this is going to happen on these dates.
And we can go back to your statement. We've now clarified at paragraph 25 that the date is the 16th. You've already said who was in attendance and that Mr. Rapesu was no longer there. Maybe you can go from you'll correct me if you've dealt with that. I think you've dealt with that. Paragraph 26 is where we're at.
Thank you. I became aware that on 9 May 2025, a meeting was held in my absence with Advocate Johnson, Mr. Sissoko, where the investigators, Mr. Perumal and Padiachi, complained that they could no longer work with me. They cited my April 2025 affidavit regarding Mr. Rapesu's victimization. But I suspect it is because I was not going along with their irregular investigation processes. I had no knowledge of the process of the investigation, notwithstanding my instructions to be kept informed. At one point, I received affidavits from witnesses who had been referred to as Section 204 witnesses. I had not been consulted on possible Section 204 witnesses. I was also given the affidavits that were already commissioned. I had previously informed Advocate Johnson that I had not perused the Section 204 statement, to which she replied that it was discussed with her and she approved of the Section 204. When I was told that the distrust related to my affidavit, I asked Mr. Sissoko whether it was because I mentioned in my affidavit, one, Advocate Johnson had informed us in the meeting that she had met with Minister Mkhunu, or perhaps the fact that I had mentioned General Gininda had been mentioned in our project diversion meeting, or perhaps that we were investigating Mr. Nkabinde. Mr. Sissoko responded that it was probably all of the above. It was also during this time that Advocate Johnson instructed us to effect arrests on project diversion every 2 weeks, starting from the first week of May 2025. But for reasons that annoyed Advocate Johnson, this did not happen as she'd planned.
Can you just tell us why it didn't happen as planned? What was the issue?
I sent a WhatsApp to Advocate Johnson in a very polite manner, speaking on behalf of the whole team after I was screamed at and belittled by the investigators, that the investigations were incomplete, that there were problems with the statements that needed to be sorted out, that there were contradictions between witnesses, severe contradictions between statements, where the subordinate is even contradicting the supervisor's affidavit. And furthermore, that I had only received all the documentation on the 11th of April. I was still going through everything. It was a lot, and I was not going to be ready.
If we can go to your WhatsApps with Advocate Johnson on page 258, bundle 10, file 10. of file 10. I think we can start on 257 actually.
Okay.
This is on the 24th of April 2025.
Thank you. Morning, Advocate Johnson. We just had a team meeting on the arrest for first leg. We won't be ready on projected date of 5 to 7 May.
And first leg is what? It's the Lushaba takedown.
Correct. We have two statements that have been that will be completed on Friday, and the file I require for possible accused to will only be provided by NASCOM on Friday. I will then need time to peruse, then finalize drafting. The docket still needs to be compiled. I am on leave next week, but I will collect the statements on Tuesday and continue working through it, so that it's not delayed. Dylan and Brian want a briefing from Mansa on the statements he collected. I do not require same as I was updated and the report submitted. I am humbly requesting on behalf of the team an extension to 14 May for finalization of the investigations and drafts.
Then if we go to 258, her response.
It's fine. I will need a final briefing before takedown. Prepare prosecution memo also for DPP perusal. Noted. We will comply. Thank you.
Okay, so you had a basis on which you were saying that we're not going to be ready by 7 May.
Correct.
So can you just tell us? You've summarized here what it is. In your view, were you ever going to be ready?
No.
And is this only in reference to the Lushaba matter or the entire, so second leg as well?
Pretty much, okay, the Lushaba matter, the two statements and the file from NASCOM was required. With the Mukwele leg, oh boy, the evidence. You know, I think one of the reasons Brian fought with me and stuck his finger in my face was because I said that a nursery book reads better than this docket. It was poor. There was no elements of any offense.
This is the Mukwele.
The Mukwele docket.
But on the Lushaba matter, as I understand it, you were of the view that there was a prima facie case, but whether it fell within IDEX mandate
Correct.
was the issue for you.
Correct.
And Advocate Johnson had said that it does because it's not housebreaking, it's defeating ends of justice, etc.
Correct.
Okay. So when you are informing her here that you want an extension, you're asking for an extension to 14 May on the Lushaba matter.
Correct. For finalization of investigations.
Did that mean that every other arrest was going to then be delayed by 2 weeks? What was the...
The entire project and the projected dates were going to be delayed.
Then we can go back to your statement.
May 2025, Lushaba enrollment. Sometime in May 2025, might have been the third week of May, I had to enroll the Lushaba matter, but I encountered issues with the affidavits that had been filed and asked the investigators to attend to the necessary. I could only make an assessment on the evidence based on what was contained in the statements. The investigators obtained supplementary statements, but this became an issue because the initial statement was so-called Section 204 statements. As stated earlier, Advocate Johnson approved the Section 204 processes without my input. And in circumstances where I had told her that I had not yet consulted with the Section 204 witnesses in order to form a view, I could not understand how we would supplement a Section 204 witness statement.
Explain that to us. We don't understand what you mean by that.
A Section 204 statement, as I explained earlier, is a statement by someone who's a person of interest, a suspect, who's providing vital information that we would not have been able to otherwise obtain. And I'm saying, and I said it to Advocate Johnson, all the 204 statements that were taken in Project Diversion, the deponent doesn't even admit liability. So in order for you to get indemnity after testifying, you must be truthful, honest, and give a full account, including your own involvement. But if you're saying that I was instructed, and there's one statement where they don't even say that what they were instructed to do was wrong, or irregular, or against procedure, or SOPs, or anything. It's just I was instructed. So with this specific, with the Lushaba matter, they had given a witness 204 status, where he is contradicting the statement of his supervisor in the docket. And to be very honest, I didn't even understand why the vetting section of crime intelligence was involved in a situation of, it did assist to an extent once I did read the vetting file with regards to the contradictions of how the process worked and the consultation with Mr. Lushaba in the vetting versus what was said in the docket versus the friend's statement of going to get medical assistance, whereas Mr. Lushaba told the vetting officer that he did not. So there were inconsistencies in Mr. Lushaba's account of events. But that specific 204 statement, he basically said, "Oh well, I didn't see or I didn't really believe the guy, so I didn't sign off on the file."
I understand why Ms. Sigels Ngube asked you to explain this, because it sounds like you're stating a general legal proposition, whereas from your explanation, it seems that what you were saying was that in this instance, it was pointless to supplement.
Correct.
This statement.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Can we just then deal with Advocate Johnson's approach on the 204, which is page 241 of file 10, which is a WhatsApp exchange between you and Advocate Johnson. It starts with the issue of Mr. Nkabinde, but at the bottom of your message at 10:56 on the 24th of Jan already. 24th of January, there's discussions about a 204. This was one
Correct.
of your issues, your concerns.
Correct.
241, the last paragraph in your 10:56 message.
Yes.
You can read from there.
The witness for vetting, the team asked me to discuss 204 status with you, but I have not perused statement as yet. Advocate Johnson replied, "Chief discussed with me while he was here. I agree to a 204.
And then you say thank yous.
If the decision was made, nothing I was going to say was going to change it. Even in the later WhatsApps, where I say to her, I'm going to consult with the witness on the Lushaba matter so we don't have the same problem we have in the vetting.
And what did she say to that?
If I can remember, it was okay.
Okay, so in your concern about the 204 started very early on.
Yes, and it was addressed by myself, and then in the fight that I spoke about with Mr. Rapesu, Mr. Padiachi, and Mr. Perumal. We are on a 2813. We are determining the veracity of accusations. How is a witness being given what could essentially be indemnity at that early stage? And correctly so, you're going to get evidence that's going to taint your investigation because you're going to lead in the direction of someone who's a suspect.
Can I just ask a different question about this? In the normal course, at which point do you get to, now it's time to get a section 204 from this particular witness? This is in the normal course of your investigation, eventually prosecution. That's my first question. The second question is, where does the authority lie to make the decision that we will make this witness to be a true? Because I can imagine that there are witnesses that you should be prosecuted, even if they were going to tell on themselves.
Right.
You know, you say this is too serious. I hope you do that, to say this is too serious to let them get away with, as a 204 witness. So it's really two questions. Is in the normal course of your work culminating in a prosecution, where does the 204 lie decision, as in we're in the process, but two, who actually makes that decision?
With regards to where it lies, as a prosecutor and also from investigations that we've already done, I've not been working with this team on other matters. A 204 will only be approached once the investigation has reached such an advanced stage and all avenues have been pursued to obtain that evidence, and we can't. We then have to make a judgment call on, do we need that evidence more than we need to prosecute that person? And that is the line of thinking of when you decide.
And is it a case of you have now hit the point where if we don't turn this witness into a 204 witness, we will never get this information?
That is where, that as far as myself and most of the prosecutors within IDAC,
Yes.
it is the only time that we would actually consider it.
Okay.
With regards to the authorization, when I was dealing with the Zondo Commission matters, we had a docket that emanated from 2018. We were actually in the process of doing a presentation to allow us to enroll. When DPC and I realized that there was one aspect where we have tried. We had reconsulted with witnesses. We had the captain had gone and tried to obtain possible documentary. We were at a block, and we really needed that evidence because it spoke to the chain of command with regards to how the money flowed. And when I approached Advocate Johnson about that, we had to do a full prosecutorial memo with the investigator's input. It had to go to the deputy director. The deputy director had to recommend, and then it went to Advocate Johnson for approval. So there's also a paper trail and multiple people approving.
And in this case, was there a paper trail? I mean, you do tell us in summary that she said, well, I've spoken, well, we see it in the WhatsApp messages. Perumal has spoken to me and I agree. Was there ever a paper trail about this?
Except for the WhatsApps, no. Because I would have had to read the statement. I would have to make a judgment call on the evidence. But that's in January, where I don't have any other evidence. How am I going to make a judgment call on a 204? It just, common sense is not being applied here because you being, and I'm repeating it, you're being guided by someone who's already.
So you don't know what Chief Perumal would have said to Ms. Johnson about this 204, if he said anything at all. And you don't know what she would have taken into account because there's no record, there's no paper trail of it. Thank you.
Aren't you putting it too restrictively, though, when you say you would resort to a 204 witness only if you would not get the information otherwise? I'm thinking, for example, of the fact that the test for proving a case in criminal matters is beyond reasonable doubt. And you may actually have the information, but what about, for example, if all you have is a single witness? The single witness does have the information, but you are not sure that that single witness is going to be a good witness. And you are in a position to get a 204 witness, just to make sure that you do skip that line of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I would imagine, I think it should be a common sense approach that rather than as restrictive as you put it. I would think. I'm not a criminal lawyer, and my practice, even when I was in practice,
But Chair, you're explaining
was not a criminal practice.
You're explaining it exactly how I put it. It's just that I sounded a little bit more restricted or restrictive.
Yes.
If there was a single witness and no corroborating evidence, even if it was circumstantial corroborating. Yes, then you would. But if it's a single witness and the corroboration, you've already hit your wall of evidence, so you would have to consider it.
Yes, all right. Thank you.
I want to ask about IDAC's investigative processes, because I see that it's May, you're already discussing takedowns, which I understand to be getting warrants of arrest.
Correct.
I've noticed that in all the matters we have discussed, although you have the Section 28 process available, you actually don't have statements from the suspects. And you said yourself that you thought one case was not very strong, the other one, there was a prima facie case of criminal conduct. But some of the questions you still had, I would have thought that if you interviewed the suspects, if you summoned them and you said to them, how did it happen that you were given this position without the vetting process being done? Who actually did the vetting process? Under what circumstances? Then you would evaluate all of that and determine whether there's reason to arrest, charge, and prosecute. But in all these cases, it looks like there was a rush to arrest people and prosecute them when you didn't have the full facts.
Correct.
So why is that? I'm trying to understand why in the process, the mechanism available to bring people in to ask them questions so that you clarify issues, why that was not used.
Commissioner Khumalo, even without the processes of 28, a district court prosecutor who has a docket of that nature would ask the investigating officer to file a warning statement. It was not done.
Because I'm assuming that even the prosecutor, because we learned that in one of the cases, there was a prosecution memo. It was sent to the prosecutor, the NPA prosecutor, and the NPA prosecutor said, I agree with your decision to prosecute. I would assume that in such a case, that prosecutor would consider, let's say, Mr. Padiaki's affidavit, would look at, but what does the suspect say happened? And would weigh the two and say, I'm satisfied that there's a prima facie case or something along those lines.
Is Commissioner talking about the in consultation or that's signed by the DPP?
Yeah, but let's not use that specifically.
Okay.
In general terms, before you proceed to take down, I would have expected that at least you get those statements to inform your view whether to prosecute or not to prosecute.
Commissioner, I'm going to go back to my first statements. If Advocate can just help, I'm looking for the part where I speak about the orchestrated attack.
The orchestrated attack. Now you're putting me on the spot.
I apologize. Okay, I will paraphrase it, Commissioner Khumalo. I started on last week Thursday by saying that the evidence I'm going to provide to the Commission will demonstrate that there was an orchestrated attack and plan to arrest people. So, and I said it earlier, and I said it again now, common sense doesn't prevail. Regulations don't prevail when manipulation is happening.
It's page 21, paragraph 50.
Thank you.
I'm indebted to Ms. Poe for that.
Thank you, Advocate.
I think you can go from before I deal with the event, so almost towards the end of paragraph 50 on page 21.
outline from the bottom.
Thank you. Before I deal with the events that transpired from the 6th of December 2024, I want to make it clear that Advocate Johnson and Mr. Perumal launched an orchestrated attack on General Masiamola and Lieutenant General Khumalo using IDAC's powerful investigation tools. So common sense did not prevail when the plan and the evidence was being manipulated.
So they could have, but they chose not to because their plan was to.
Correct.
Did Ms. Johnson say why the agency? I accept that if indeed this was an orchestrated scheme, it's understandable that not SN approved, but understandable that things would not proceed in the normal course, to follow the rules, to follow common sense. This is why we only act once we've gathered everything. You do a 204 only at a certain point when you've gathered everything. So that would not apply because we have a scheme that in fact we are executing. It's not about legitimate investigation and prosecution of wrongdoing. There's no legitimacy to it. Does she explain, even in that scenario, why we must do it every 2 weeks and why we start in May? What was pushing her? Did she ever say anything?
There was no explanation provided. And as Advocate Surunya explained yesterday, some questions you just don't ask.
We've had a witness unrelated to you who said something and said it was corridor talk. I'm going to ask you the same kind of question. What were you hearing is the reason things were happening? And I'm more interested in why are we in May getting people arrested and we have to do it every 2 weeks?
I think Commissioner is a bit ahead of us because from the 16th of May or the 13th of May, Commissioner will understand exactly what was happening at IDAC.
I am happy by all means to leave it for you to tell it in your way when we are ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, sorry, I do see that it's 4 o'clock. We are not going to finish Ms. Ramsamy's evidence today because in part there are documents that she needs to retrieve. One very important one, which is not sure whether it's still accessible to her, but other documents as well that we have to obtain. That speaks to the second part of her statement more prominently than what she's already provided to us. But I do want to finish the topic that we're currently on until page 16, which I think, barring intervention from the bench, we should be able to complete.
And barring you going to a whole lot of annexures.
The witness, Chair. We should be able to finish that within a half an hour. It relates to documents that the commissioners are already familiar with, but she produces counter documents to that has been produced. And then we will leave the next big topic for Ms. Ramsamy to return and deal with that once she's collated the documents.
If I find them.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Okay, so can we then deal with May 2025? And you've got subtopics there. The first is the Lushaba enrollment.
Sometime in May 2025, might have been the 3rd week of May, I had to enroll Lushaba matter. But I encountered issues with the affidavit that had been filed and asked the investigators to attend to the necessary. I could only make assessments on the evidence based on what was contained in the statements. The investigators obtained supplementary statements, but this became an issue because the initial statement was so-called 204. I've read this into this record already. Must I continue?
29, sorry.
29, thank you. On or about the 16th of May, I informed Advocate Johnson during a meeting that I had serious concerns about the evidence because the team was not following the prosecutor-guided method. Advocate Johnson told me that I should make a verbal presentation to address the issues, but in effect, the sense I got was that she was not going to side with me over Mr. Perumal. In June 2025, I was instructed by Advocate Johnson to prepare a 28-1 for all crime intelligence matters as an umbrella application. I will deal with this in detail later.
Can I just correct you? It's not June 2025. I think you said it was 27 May. Was it not? That
Correct. It was on the 27th of May.
You prepared in June.
Yes, I prepared in June. Correct. Sorry about that, Advocate.
Next paragraph, and then we'll go to those documents. Page 15, the Mokwele matter, section 2813 authorization. I think that should be section 28.1 authorization.
I will deviate slightly from my timeline in dealing with the events of May 2025. It is better that I deal with the events thematically instead of chronologically. When Advocate Johnson testified before the commission, she produced a section 28.1 authorization signed and dated 30 May 2025. In the Mokwele matter, as well as a 28.1 application purportedly from me to her, dated 30 May 2025.
Just want to go to that. So if you go to file 8, page 3288.
I'm there.
Okay, this is the document that you are referring to in your statement at paragraph 31, which was the document that Advocate Johnson testified to as being the application that was prepared by you, dated 30 May 2025. Is that the one?
Correct.
And if we go to the last page of that document, you will see on page 3298, there's a date 30 May 2025, and just above that on page 3297, Advocate Johnson's signature.
Correct.
Now you want to, we just go back to the first page of the application itself, which is addressed to by you. You want to speak about that document, that 3288. You can continue in your statement.
Here.
Just before you do that, it says that it's from Advocate D. Ramsamy, title State Advocate 30 May 2025 to Advocate Johnson.
Correct?
Yes.
Advocate Johnson testified before this commission. She produced a section 28.1 authorization signed and dated 30 May 2025 in the Mokwele matter, as well as a section 28.1 application purported from me to her dated 30 May 2025. I did not prepare this application, and the authorization could not have been signed and approved by Advocate Johnson on the 30th of May 2025. As these documents suggest, I say so for the following reasons. During the meeting...
Sorry, before you say that, so what you're saying is that the document that Advocate Johnson produced that she indicated was the authorization for the 28.1 investigation into the Mokwele matter, and that was preceded by an application drafted by you, sent to her, in order for her to authorize the investigation on 30 May 2025, you say you did not prepare that document.
Correct.
Okay. And you say that not only did you not prepare it, but that authorization couldn't have been, that investigation couldn't have been authorized by Advocate Johnson on the 30th of May 2025.
Correct.
Okay, and then you tell us why you say so at 32.
During the meeting on the 27th of May 2025,
take your time.
Advocate Johnson instructed me to prepare one umbrella, Section 28, for all crime intelligence matters. May I please have a word?
That's a Jen.